Hello and welcome back to another episode of Just an Average Metalhead. It is me, your host with the most, Matt, and we have got a good video today. I am an absolute die-hard Metallica fan. I have loved them for years and years and years, like way back when I started my journey into liking the crazy music that we call heavy metal. And today I am going to be ranking every Metallica studio album from worst to best. Absolute legends of the scene, beginning in the Bay Area of San Francisco, and they have just gone on to conquer the world. So let's get this fun started, and we'll start off with the worst Metallica album of all time. Unfortunately, it's even more like heartbreaking for me because it is the Metallica album that came out like just as I got into them, which is such a bummer. Like, I think they was going through a bit of an identity crisis at the time, and unfortunately, they sort of, I think they paid the price for it because, obviously, if you don't know the backstory to this album, when all the Napster stuff happened, I think they were on the sort of like back foot. Nu metal was champion, and they decided to change their style up a bit, and out came Saint Anger. This is album number 12 in our list, unfortunately. Granted, it's not 100% awful, but I detested this album from the first moment I heard it. It's only as I've got older and I've gone back and listened to it that I can actually appreciate a lot of the stuff, like songs like All Within My Hands, The Unnamed Feeling, Some Kind of Monster. I can go back nowadays and look at it and go, yeah, do you know what, that song is actually pretty good, but I think Metallica were kind of running blind. Like, they didn't know what to do about them, what like to do with themselves, and unfortunately, it really just affected Saint Anger. In the words of Lars's dad in the film Some Kind of Monster, I would have deleted this. It's not 100% terrible, but I think they was in for a hiding no matter what. Like, nu metal was king at the time, and I think Metallica just kind of got confused with themselves, and this was the result, unfortunately. It's like, yeah, there's no guitar solos. The infamous Lars Ulrich snare drum that sounds like he's come straight out of a fucking, like, hitting a trash can with a baseball bat a la Slipknot. But it's not completely unredeemable. Like I said, there are some good tracks on this, but unfortunately, it's at the bottom of our pile. In at number 11 is an album that when it came out, I was obsessed with. Like, I absolutely loved this album, and I still do, but over the past sort of week while I've been working on my beginner's guide to Metallica video that I've got, it's coming out within this next week. Yeah, it's Metallica on autopilot for me. It's like, I think when it came out, I think it's the fact that they brought an album out which sounded like Metallica after the previous one, which unfortunately we've just done. Now going back and listening to it, Death Magnetic is in at number 11. Granted, there are some world-beating songs on this album. Songs like That Was Just Your Life, All Nightmare Long, The Unforgiven 3. I personally love The Unforgiven 3. But, like songs like Cyanide, it just sounds like Metallica on autopilot. Yeah, it's metal, and it's the metal sound that you expect from Metallica, But it's just, and like songs like The End of the Line, I feel the same about. But unfortunately, yeah, like they are kicking major ass again on this album, but it's forgettable. As to quote Bill Bailey, it's like Cress in a Vindaloo. You don't really, like, compared to the rest of Metallica's back catalogue, you don't really recognise it that much. It's very rare I actually go back and listen to this album in full. I will just like handpick certain songs from it. Like, I do listen to the Unforgiven 3 all the time. But to be fair, like, The Day That Never Comes is another standout track from this album, but it's Metallica doing something different, and that's what I like about it, you know? Like, going forward from this one, like, I think, for me, these two are like the weak links. Well, not really. Saint Anger is a weak link. This is a great sort of, like, if you'd never heard Metallica before and you heard this, you will go out and check out everything else out, because it is wicked at first listen, but on repeat listens, it's like chewing gum. It loses its flavour very quickly. But it's still a good album. It's not, like I said, it's not completely unredeemable, but it is towards the bottom end of the scale, unfortunately. In at number 10. Sorry, still can't get rid of this bloody cough. In at number 10, it's a bit of a strange one, but we have the cover album, Garage Inc. I love this album, and honestly, like, it's 2 discs. Disc 1 is all the new recordings that they did at the time, and disc 2 is a repackaging of all the older cover stuff, and a few B-sides and one-offs and stuff like that. Honestly, if it wasn't down to the newer recorded covers, this would probably be higher, because disc 2 is phenomenal. I will listen to that time and time again. But disc 1 is kind of what lets it down with this. But it's not, now there's not a bad cover on this, but there's just some other songs that they just don't work for me, like in my taste. I think that's kind of my pickiness about it. But Garage Days is absolutely great. Okay, Garage Days is the old one. Garage Inc. is absolutely great. I love listening to this. I listen to it all the time. Like, Free Speech for the Dumb, It's Electric, Sabracadabra, Turn the Page, Die 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 My Darling, Astronomy, Whiskey in the Jar, Tuesday's Gone, which is Metallica, like, giving it that proper, like, country style, and it just suits James Hetfield's voice so well. But then on, like, disc 2, we've got Helpless, The Weight, Crash Course in Brain Surgery, Last Caress, Am I Evil, Blitzkrieg, Bread Fan, Stone Cold Crazy, the Queen cover, perfect. Then, like, the Motorhead like section of the last 4 tracks: Overkill, Damage Case, Stone Dead Forever, and Too Late, Too Late. Absolutely amazing. I love this album. If you've not checked out Garage Inc., please do. Metallica covering some absolutely amazing tunes. Please check it out. Right, in at number 9. Oh, I'm starting to feel a bit bad about this, but we have got Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Oh, if this wasn't a double album, it would be so much higher. It would be so much higher. Like, I love this album. I still listen to it all the time. Like, I went out and I bought the, let's see if you can see, I bought the 3-disc bonus edition, which has got it's got a live out. It's most of it's like live tracks, but then it's got a few sort of like covers and like it's got Lords of Summer on the random track they released out of nowhere before this. It's a really good album, but there is just a few sort of like duff tracks on this that kind of let it down for me, and they're all towards the back end. Like, if you go for disc 1, we've got Hardwired, Atlas Rise, Now That We're Dead. Like, Hardwired is not Hardwired. Atlas Rise has got that real sort of like new wave of British heavy metal, like Iron Maiden, Judas Priesty, like power through it. I love it. Hardwired is more of the track Hardwired is more of what you expect from Metallica. Now That We're Dead has got that sort of like mid-90s vibe to it. Moth into Flame is again more of your traditional Metallica stylings. Dream No More it's got that Call of Cthulhu like Lovecraftness to it, and I love that as well. And Halo of Fire is one of my favourite, like it is one of my favourite Metallica songs ever. But it's only sort of like when you get onto this too. Confusion is great. It's Metallica by numbers, but it's still a good song. I hate the song Man Unkind. It's just such a duffer. Here Comes Revenge again. It's Metallica by numbers. It's kind of weaker. Am I Savage? I flip flop on this. I have it's a proper like. One day I'll listen to it and I'll love it. The next day I'll skip it. I just can't be arsed with it. Murder One. I know what they was trying to do with that. It's their tribute to like the legend Mr. Lemmy from Motorhead, but it just doesn't work. But then it ends on Spit Out the Bone, which is a 10 out of 10 banger. If they could have just cut some of the more like duffer tracks on this album, it would have been way higher in this list. Like, it's so much better than Death Magnetic. I absolutely adore Hardwired Self Destruct. That's why I did buy myself the original, and then I went out and bought myself the deluxe edition. Yeah, as I say, of one of the more modern Metallica albums, it's still one that I revisit regularly. It's just I just wish it wasn't a double album and got rid of some of the like weaker stuff. Other than that, it would have been absolutely fantastic. In at number 8, I know it seems weird that all the newer albums seem to have towards the bottom end, but I meant what I said in my video, my review of this when it first came out. This is 100% one of my favourite Metallica albums. It's just the fact of everything they've done before it is just better. Like, it has to go somewhere in the list, but unfortunately I couldn't rank everything else. I couldn't pick any of the other stuff before it. We've got 72 seasons. I'm still rinsing this album. I have not stopped listening to it since it came out. It's either always in my headphones or it's always in one of my CD players. I love this album, and I love that James Hetfield got so open and personal in this album. It's a side of him we've never seen before, and that really, really means a lot to me. Like, granted, the more I've lived with it, I've realised it's not like the perfect like album, which like it was to me when it first came out. It was Metallica like going for it. But songs like 72 Seasons, Screaming Suicide, Sleepwalk My Life Away, You Must Burn, the title track, Lux Eterna, sorry, it was the first track that came out. Crown of Barbed Wire, If Darkness Had a Sun, Too Far Gone, and the final track, Inamorata, is just absolutely amazing. Like, you cannot go wrong with 72 Seasons. It is, like I said, if it wasn't for everything they'd previously done being so high quality, 72 Seasons would have been higher. And I know it's weird that the newer stuff is like towards the bottom, but Metallica have just the rest of the back catalogue is that high that I just can't put anything else below it. Yeah, like to say it's like the newest Metallica album, like it's the most modern Metallica album. It is one of my favourites. I love 72 Seasons. and it's them like it's like with Ozzy and his two latest albums. They are two of my favorite Ozzy albums, but it's because they have had that like they have been brave enough to be open and personal in their like more releases. Like I will go deeper into those Ozzy albums on another video because I really want to talk about them. But yeah, 72 Seasons, great album. If you didn't check it out when it came out, please, please, please check it out. It is wicked. In at number 7, nearly halfway through the list, we have Reload. If anybody tells you that Load and Reload are shit, don't listen to them. They are fucking fantastic. Yes, it's not the Metallica we are used to, but still doesn't mean it's bad. But it's just, for me, Reload is the bottom one out of the two, but I still love this album so, so much. Like, every single member of Metallica are just having the time of their life with this. And we have got, if it wasn't for this album, we would not have had some of the biggest songs for them in their live environment. Like Fuel is from this album. The Memory Remains. If you've seen, Fuel and Memory Remains, and like, it's got one of my personal favorite like tracks on it, which I will never not stop playing to death. I am known to put it on a loop, and that is The Unforgiven 2. The Unforgiven trilogy for me is one of the best like song sequel trilogies that I've ever heard. It is fantastic. There isn't a bad one amongst it, but Unforgiven 2 is my favourite. They are sort of like they're still Metallica, but it's condensed. But they've also put in that like darker, grungier stuff, like Alice in Chainsy style stuff mixed in to what makes them Metallica, and it just works. So yeah, if you've never checked out Load and Reload because some crusty old metalhead has gone, oh, don't listen to them, it's shit, you're wrong. These albums are great. Like I've said about those 3 songs, but Better Than You, Carpe Diem Baby, Prince Charming, Low Man's Lyric, Fixer, you can't go wrong. So here we are, number 7, Reload. Right, we're halfway through the list, people, and we have Ride the Lightning. I'm going to get such a kicking for putting this solo down. But I don't care. This was the first Metallica album that I bought. I literally bought it just before Saint Anger came out. I went because my dad had it was called an air guitar compilation, and it had For Whom the Bell Tolls on it, and I just loved that song. So I went to my local HMV and I went and bought this actual copy. It's still my original one that I bought like 20 odd years ago. God, that makes me feel old when I say that. But this album is fantastic. I know putting it this far down is like sacrilege for some people, but the other albums are just better for me. And there is just a couple of songs of this on this album which just affects it. It's not the 10 out of 10 some people will tell you it is. Like, granted, Fight Fire with Fire is amazing. For Ride the Lightning, the title track itself is absolutely amazing. For Whom the Bell Tolls is always gonna be like one of my favourite Metallica songs. But then like songs like Fade to Black, they were adapting their sound even this early on. For people who say that like it wasn't until like they dropped thrash at the Black album, no, they were changing things up on album number 2. But it's when we get to songs like, for me personally, the 2 songs of Trapped Under Ice and Escape, for me, that weakens this album. They're not songs I will revisit at all, really. But straight after that, you get the double whammy of Creeping Death and Call of Cthulhu. Call of Cthulhu. Sorry, I pronounced it wrong. That it's a perfect way to finish an album. I will keep saying that. But for me, Ride the Lightning, out of the original run of the Cliff Burton band of Metallica, is it's the bottom of the pile. It still doesn't make it a bad album. Like I said, like I just couldn't put any. I couldn't place it higher than what I've got left in the list. But yeah, this was my gateway point to a full Metallica album, and you can't go wrong with it. I love Ride the Lightning. In at number 5, again, probably a bit sacrilege me putting it putting it above Ride the Lightning, but we have Load. I love Load, and it's got some of my favourite Metallica songs on it. Like, again, the same as Reload, it's the Metallica sound, it's condensed, and it's mixed in with that 90s darker sort of like grungy Alice in Chains sound. Yes, and I get it. It's the album where they cut their hair and we're doing very uncool things, but it still doesn't stop that the music's badass. Like with songs like Ain't My Bitch, 2x4, The House That Jack Built, Until It Sleeps, King Nothing, Hero of the Day, which again is Metallica trying something new, which I love when they do that. Bleeding Me, Poor Twisted Me, Mama Said, again, it's such a personal song for James Hetfield. Thorn Within, Ronnie, and my personal, like, again, one of my top tier favourite Metallica songs, The Outlaw Torn, is on this album. This album is absolutely fantastic. I get it. If you grew up in the 80s and you like the original 3 with Cliff and then and Justice for All, like the original 4 like thrash albums, and you heard this, what the fuck is that? But no, people need to give this album a chance. It is not the piece of shit that people say it is. I've loved it from first listen, and I get it. I'm younger. I'm nearly 32, but yeah, it's not a Metallica album that should be slept on. It is absolutely incredible. Again, I have a feeling that I am going to get murdered for where I've put this one. But in at number 4, in my eyes, one of the 2 best debut albums of all time. Kill 'Em All. There is not a bad second on this album. It's short, it's punchy, it's to the point. But fuck me, is it amazing. Like, it just baffles my head. Like, I always say I would love to be around when the first Black Sabbath album came out. But I would also have loved to time travel back to be around when this album came out. I love Kill 'Em All so much. I've even got the Kill 'Em All like Metallica Vans trainers, which I got about 15 years ago. And I still wear them. They are my gig trainers. They are my comfy gig trainers. It's like my ritual. Whenever I'm going to a gig, I wear my Kill 'Em All shoes. But yeah, there is not a wasted moment on this. Like, opening tracks, Hit the Lights. That's how you start a fucking album. The Four Horsemen, Motor Breath, Jump in the Fire, Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth, a great instrumental. Whiplash, Phantom Lord, No Remorse, Seek and Fucking Destroy, which is a staple live to this day, and ending it on Metal Militia. Granted, Metal Militia is probably the weakest song on the album because it's corny as fuck, but it's still so much fun. Yeah, one of the best debut albums of all time. You cannot go wrong with Kill 'Em All. Right, into the top 3. and this is why I think I'm going to get a kick in. But just a heads up, these next 3 albums are 10 out of 10, perfect, not a moment wrong with them. But they're in this order because it's my own personal preferences. So at number 3, the Black Album, the self-titled album by Metallica, the 5th studio album they released. There's not a lot I can say about this album which hasn't been said by more qualified people than me. I will just sort of describe the feeling I get when I listen to it, and it's just pure joy. There is not a wasted second on this album. Every single second from start to finish is perfectly crafted. Metallica took what they did on albums number 1 to 4, condensed it down, so it still sounds like Metallica, but it's been bite-sized pieces, and it launched them into the stratosphere. Like, obviously, like, album opener, Enter Sandman is, yeah, it's overplayed, but it's overplayed for a reason. It is amazing. Sad But True is just, like, again, that 1-2 punch of Enter Sandman and Sad But True is just fantastic. Holier Than Thou, The Unforgiven, Wherever I May Roam, Don't Tread on Me, Through the Never, Nothing Else Matters, which, yeah, I know, this is probably where it lost a lot of the original, like, Metallica fans, because it's a soft, weepy ballad. But it still goes fucking hard on the solo, though, doesn't it? It's people who sort of, I don't like Metallica because Nothing Else Matters need to get grinds my gears. Of Wolf and Man, The God That Failed, My Friend of Misery, The Struggle Within. There is not a wasted second on this album. Like, it's the album that, yes, they were big on the original 4 albums, but this is what brought the masses to Metallica, and they've stayed on that perch at the top level ever since. Like, again, I wish I could have been there at the time when, like, Enter Sandman came out, and, like, I was born the year after this album came out. That's how old I am now. But yeah, it's an amazing album. There was nearly no point me saying to check this album out because it's the Black Album. If you like metal, you've listened to the Black Album. It's such a good album. I love the self-titled Metallica album. It is rad as hell. In at number 2, again, probably going to get a kick in for this, but it's just my own personal feelings. In at number 2 is Master of Puppets. Not only is this a 10 out of 10 album, if somebody was to approach me in the street and ask me what is heavy metal, I would play them this. It is the best example of what heavy metal is, in my opinion. And, like, you guys know me by now, I am the biggest Iron Maiden fan ever. Like, that band, my lifeblood. There is not a day where I don't listen to Iron Maiden. I love that band. But this, for me, is what heavy metal is. It's perfect. It is so damn good. There is not a wasted second on this album. And it's only by my own personal preference that it's not number 1. It is just perfect, and with it being the last album that they made with Cliff as well. I would have loved to see what that guy would have done if he wasn't unfortunately taken away from us so early. But that triple header, the triple header of the start of this album, of Battery into Master of Puppets into The Thing That Should Not Be. It's a 1-2-3 punch that is never gonna get out of my brain. But even then, like, Welcome Home Sanitarium after that, Disposable Heroes, Leper Messiah into Orion, which is Cliff Burton's finest moment. I know it's been said over and over again. And then into Damage Incorporated. But yeah, it's just perfection. There is there is not a thing wrong with this album, and it is the album that I think it's been the album to beat for quite some time, and the closest anybody's ever got for making the perfect metal album is The Blackening by Machine Head. But yeah, this is it's just quality incarnate. Like there's not every single member of the band are playing on 10. There is not a wasted second. Every single guitar solo is perfect. Every drum hit is perfect. The bass playing is top quality. And James, his voice is just next level. There's not a lot more I can say about Master of Puppets because it's been, it's been talked about by a lot more qualified people than me. But I love this album. But unfortunately, it's my number 2. And that only leaves one. And then there were one. And that album is And Justice for All. The reason I prefer this album to Master of Puppets is thanks to a tragedy and of losing Cliff Burton. Metallica made this. They were a wounded animal when they made this album, and it has put a yard of pace and a mouthful of venomous spit into the making of this album. Like, Metallica sound like they are fucked off throughout all this album. Like, James, James, I think this is where James really stepped up as like the leader of Metallica. Like, he's got that like angry like bit between his teeth, but so would you. You've just lost they've lost their best friend and they've had to get somebody else into his position. Like, granted, the production on this isn't great, like, but it's just, I can't put it into words why I like this album more than Master of Puppets. I just do. The Metallica are at their angriest, at their heaviest, and every single song on it is perfect. Like, Blackened into And Justice for All, Eye of the Beholder, One, The Shortest Straw, Harvester of Sorrow, The Frayed Ends of Sanity, To Die Is to Live, Die As Eve. And it's just, there is not a bad second on it, but they are just, for me, there is no wonder why the Black Album sounds like the Black Album, because after they made this, they could not stick with the traditional thrash sound for much longer. This album, for me personally, is the best Metallica album. I love And Justice for All. Yeah, like, for me, apart from the album that is in bottom place, there isn't a bad there is only one bad Metallica album for me personally, and that is Saint Anger. But everything else, it's not that it's bad. It's like least good to the best. You know, Metallica are a band that have meant a lot to me for years and years and years, and getting to talk about them like that is makes me happy. So that's it for today. I know I have waffled on for over half an hour on a band that, like, again, a lot more qualified people have talked about, but I've had a lot of fun making this video today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like what I'm making, please like and subscribe to the channel. It really, really would mean a lot to me. I've got some big things in the pipeline that I'm hoping I can do. So stick around, please, 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 please. You won't regret it. I hope you all have a good day. Remember, you're all loved, and keep the faith. Catch you later, guys.